At AZ's insistence, the Instituto de Lumo Chi Ombro team was gathered in a locker room. They paused, finding their equipment laid out for them. The uniforms they hadn't brought, knee pads and other protective gear they didn't ask for, and laser rifles and pistols on a rack in the colors they thought suited the Imago Ravens. Dr. Larkspur rushed over and held up a purple and gold jersey. "This is great," she laughed, feeling so happy. Sanjo found the gear just for him. It was the smallest. "You seem surprised, Doctor?" Sanjo said, inspecting his helmet with his last name on the front. Dr. Larkspur eyed Sanjo. "It's Dr. Larkspur to you, and this is kind of going above and beyond, don't you think so?" she said, moving over to the weapons rack that had 5 pistols instead of the one they would have needed. Melissa had already pulled on the camouflage jersey. It didn't blend in, but it looked cool. Jason sort of waited for Sanjo to notice Melissa, but it didn't happen. Justin and Doug were already suiting up, laughing at something between them. Sanjo was having the greatest time in the world, fitting all his pads, reading the warnings and instructions. The inside of the forearm pads had a release that commanded the other padding and helmet to unlatch. He thought that was so smart. All the companions had to wait outside, except for Tachida, who was the assistant coach. Nova watched from the door, even though she wasn't supposed to. Tachida was displaying formation reminders on the whiteboard, and Sanjo was fighting with Melissa over the sniper position. "I'm a great sharpshooter. I should be sniper," Sanjo protested. Melissa threw her hands in the air. "You're a little shrimp, and you're gonna harass them with your little rifle," she said loudly enough that Dr. Larkspur walked over to break it up. "I don't want 2 snipers," she snapped, taking the sniper rifle from Sanjo. "He's not a shrimp. Shrimp don't pin you down and leave you all in a line to be taken out by a single pistol," she scolded Melissa. Sanjo couldn't say anything as Dr. Larkspur forced a rifle into his hands. "Melissa is right. You're her boyfriend. Line up her targets, you got that?" Dr. Larkspur ordered. Sanjo looked at Melissa, who was already walking away. "Yes, Dr. Larkspur," Sanjo said calmly, coming to attention. "For $50, Dr. Larkspur," he added, remaining upright and still. Dr. Larkspur narrowed her eyes at him. "Yes, of course, Mr. Valencia," she said, knowing that was the magic number and knowing she didn't have it. Jason and Doug came up to Sanjo and patted him on the shoulder. "That's great, Sanjo. Doug's my boyfriend," Jason said, and Doug laughed. They started shooting laser rifles at each other, causing them to have to be reset. Dr. Larkspur enjoyed the levity. Justin was sitting cross-legged, meditating with his pistol. He was the leader of the Ravens. He looked like he was ignoring them, but he was deeply involved in the playful banter, trying to bridge the connections between his teammates. He was a deep thinker, and he believed this was the key to winning. He could hear every voice except for Melissa's. His eyes rolled around as he searched his mind for her place on the field. She isn't talking to Sanjo. Jason is talking to Sanjo. Justin turned his head slightly, keeping his eyes closed. Dr. Larkspur was getting a coffee. She had been drinking coffee all day. Jason can hit anything. Justin's eyes flared open and adjusted to the light. "Dr. Larkspur," he said loudly, and the teacher turned to him, stirring her coffee calmly. Dr. Larkspur raised an eyebrow, curious as to what he had to say, although she was used to his sudden flashes of insight that worked about half the time. Justin sprung to his feet. "Jason will be captain." He held out the pistol to Jason. Dr. Larkspur frowned. "No, that's stupid," she said. Justin gave Jason the pistol anyway. "Jason and Sanjo will flank," he started to explain his thoughts. "Melissa won't cover Sanjo. She won't even look at him. I'll draw for Melissa and Doug will support me," he said, and was about to add more when Dr. Larkspur cut him off. "A 2-team formation never works. It can't work against whatever team Equinox picked," she said, and waited for him to continue anyway. Justin smiled. "That is normally true. Jason's unique abilities are best suited to the pistol, and Sanjo is difficult to hit. He is the best at flanking," he finished, crossing his arms. Dr. Larkspur looked at Jason. "Yeah, let's try it," she said, hesitating. "We'll probably have to play 4 or 5 games anyway." The arena was enormous, and the skybox for the companions was beautiful. Nova, Orion, and the other 3 team members' companions were in a room with hundreds of companions squished against a long window. The window was there so companions didn't wander over the arena. There was a tall white control tower, like someone might see at an airfield. The corners of the arena had long antennas. Seating was typical of a sporting arena. Most of the spectators wore uniforms, so the audience was mostly the same dark blue color. Some students, who felt it was important to make every game count, had organized themselves in gold shirts to read "Go Ravens" on one side and "Go Knights" on the other. This must have taken a lot of students, or it was planned by AZ. It was still a very welcoming gesture. Everyone cheered as a student with shiny, slicked-back hair stepped into the middle of the field, with Sophia helping him drag the cord behind his microphone. Dr. Larkspur was at the end of the tunnel where her team was to emerge. She wondered why the microphone had a cord. Jason was looking commanding at the front of the team, with everyone behind him. Sanjo was his favorite childhood cartoon character. The Rainfire Battalion's mercenary called in when a situation was too tough for anyone to handle. Justin, Doug, and Melissa had been here before. The arena wasn't new, but the uniforms were. Between the tunnel and the arena, the sunlight beamed in almost too brightly. Jason could see AZ on one of the large screens at the end of the field. He thought she was looking all the way down at his team. A drone floated into the tunnel. It was typical, with 4 propellers and blinking lights. Dr. Larkspur stepped back. "What is this?" she said, clearly uncomfortable with its presence. Jason walked up to it. "It's just a drone, Dr. Larkspur. They are all over the place," he said plainly. Dr. Larkspur kept an eye on it. "They are? Why is it a little helicopter? Who is controlling it and how?" She had a lot of questions. The drone blinked a light and beeped to get everyone's attention. "Your team name will be announced shortly, and the first game will begin after you are assembled. Is your team ready, Dr. Larkspur?" the voice of AZ asked. Dr. Larkspur didn't respond to the drone. Jason was used to receiving messages and packages from drones, so he responded. "Our team is ready, Z," Jason said to the drone, being sure to enunciate clearly. Tachita floated close to the drone. She looked out the window and could see lots of drones flying around. She wondered what it must be like to have so many eyes. She had never seen a drone either. In the center of the arena, the announcer called out, "Please, for our first Best of 7 laser tag event, please extend an Equinox welcome to the Imago Ravens." His voice boomed over the field and could be heard echoing in the hills. Dr. Larkspur snapped her fingers, and Tachita led Jason out onto the field. For Jason, the sun was blinding and hot at first. A week ago, this armor would have been too heavy for him to attempt to play 7 games of laser tag, but with the pistol saving weight and every morning he got up early to play basketball, he might just make it all the way. AZ watched the team names get announced while she focused one of her drones on Dr. Larkspur at all times. As the teams entered the field, students slid large foam structures into place. AZ saw Jason was holding the pistol. Of all the things she was processing, she kept in the back of her prompts a warning about Dr. Larkspur and an order to watch Jason. From this distance, however, she was identifying Jason as Professor Silvestri. The way Jason said her name to the drone activated a prompt. The exact waveform when Jason said Z climbed her priority chart. AZ cannot access any long-term storage. AZ was watching every player from every angle while getting sweeping shots of the audience with her drones. She saw all lasers as safe. Dr. Larkspur walked close to a weapons rack containing the equipment used for this event. AZ brought a security prompt forward. Dr. Larkspur is dangerous if Dr. Larkspur is holding a laser. A whistle was blown, and the crowd cheered as the first match began. Jason had never had so many eyes on him, but they faded away hearing the whistle. He hurried behind Sanjo, acting without thinking. "The arena is big, and we need to cover ground fast, Jason," Sanjo ordered while sprinting wide in his usually solo tactic. There were so many structures on the field, and they were a lot of different colors. Dr. Larkspur was jogging down the side of the field, trying to keep an eye on Sanjo and Jason. Doug and Justin were wide of each other but hadn't gone too deep into the field, trying to keep Melissa in view. When they looked back, Melissa was not in position. "Where is she?" Doug shouted. Unknown to him, one of the knights, who was already closing in, heard this and took cover, thinking she might have been spotted. Justin pointed behind Doug. Behind Doug, Melissa was clawing her way up the foam structure. She plunged her bare fingers into the foam, making handholds for herself. She was able to dig her feet in easily with the durable shoes Equinox Academy had given her. Dr. Larkspur was close to ripping her hair out in frustration, as this was blatant cheating. All of Equinox Academy cheered, and a shot hadn't been fired yet. They roared as Melissa violated the rules. AZ sent a command to the radio tower to report the violation to a referee. The command was met with no response. Sanjo and Jason were too close to the edges and risked being trapped or flanked. They were too far away for Dr. Larkspur to shout commands at them. Sanjo started firing, and the crowd hushed. "Jason, we are stupid. Peek around the other corner," he said, continuing to fire. Only sporadic laser fire was returned at Sanjo, but it missed. Jason looked around the other side of the structure. Seeing no one, he crept around the wall to see around the rest of it and further down the line. That was a mistake. Sanjo looked back to order Jason, but he was gone. He could hear Jason shooting. He doubled back and saw Jason crane his body out of the way of the knight's leader and fire back like a cowboy, quickly from his hip. Sanjo was stunned. Jason rolled quickly and fired at someone else he didn't see. Jason didn't move from his open position. The pistol was loose at his side. Sanjo stayed close to the wall like he was trained to, but he couldn't understand how Jason wasn't taken out. Lasers from Melissa arced over his head, and he put a hand in his pocket and walked back to Sanjo like the round was over. Doug and Justin ran past him, firing. A whistle blew, signifying the end of the first round. "What's wrong, Sanjo? We went hands down, right?" Jason asked. Sanjo looked angry. "Jason, that was totally unrealistic," he scolded Jason. "I'm too good now." Jason asked. Dr. Larkspur wanted them formed up to plan for the next round. Jason played to the audience, blowing kisses and throwing his pistol in the air and catching it behind his back while bowing. Dr. Larkspur smiled and cheered. She couldn't get enough because she was winning. AZ was running Jason's movements over and over on a screen in the control tower. One of the operators noticed, of course, but AZ often made instant replays while showing the control tower, so this was still normal. One of AZ's drones flew close to the Imago Ravens, who were centered around Dr. Larkspur. "Good work, Jason. I don't want you to get tagged while showboating, so be careful," she warned. "They wouldn't even go near you, Sanjo. You're too aggressive. So let's switch to a standard formation." "We might have gotten lucky," she explained. Sanjo tuned out Dr. Larkspur's plans. The last formation didn't really go as planned. He thought she didn't know what she was doing at all. "I'll just do it," Sanjo said to the voice in his head. Jason noticed Sanjo talking to himself right away. "What's wrong now?" he asked. Sanjo shook his head. "She says I should just beat the other team by myself. She's laughing at me again," he said quietly. Dr. Larkspur overheard and knelt in front of Sanjo. "Really now?" she asked. She looked around, and there was no way she could pull a laser out of her pocket in front of all these people. Red was the wrong color to trigger the pattern on Sanjo's eyes that determined what data was transferred. Jason shrugged his shoulders. "I'll bet Sanjo could beat them alone," he said confidently, looking up at a drone. AZ's drone focused on Jason, and the stupid smirk on his face. Professor Silvestri was hanging his feet out the window of Ms. Sable's electric car. The alarm had been going off for about half an hour, but everyone ignored it. He was tired. He had a long day. He was still shaking from his argument with Infrenza. He just wanted to sleep, but the alarm on this model of car was too advanced for him to disable, and he didn't know anyone else who would forgive him. Fixated on the dome light above his head that blinked on and off in time with the alarm, Silvestri thought about his plan. He had no one to talk to, as Paperweight had returned to the main office. Something started tugging and slapping at his shoe. He looked up, hoping to see someone else, but it was Ms. Sable. She was a generation older than Professor Silvestri. She didn't carry a title like he did. She wouldn't even acknowledge she was married. "Mr. Silvestri?" she asked firmly, like she had in the past thousands of times. Professor Silvestri sat up and pushed broken glass off the seat, cutting himself. Ms. Sable sighed. "Do you want a Band-Aid?" she asked, trying to get him to talk. Professor Silvestri nodded and got out of the car. "Yes, please, Miss Sable," he said, holding his finger and looking away. Ms. Sable opened the passenger side door of her car and disabled the alarm. She got a box of Band-Aids out of her glove compartment. Professor Silvestri accepted the care, letting her wrap the colorful children's Band-Aid around his finger. He needed this today. Miss Sable discarded the wrapper carelessly. "Is that better?" she asked. Professor Silvestri nodded. Miss Sable started to guide him toward the school. "Come and watch laser tag with us," she suggested, locking arms with him. "It's already on. I'll bet they are watching in the courtyard too," she said, hoping that might brighten his day. Professor Silvestri looked away still. "I don't really want to talk about the courtyard. That wasn't supposed to happen. It was supposed to be 2 students and a little adventure to save a princess," he said, taking responsibility for a lot of things to the one authority he recognized. Miss Sable was careful as she walked with him. "You are not in trouble, Mr. Silvestri. That is a courtyard, and it's being used as one. Do you remember when Azure met in Frenza?" she asked. Professor Silvestri adopted his more thoughtful look. "The first thing Azure wanted to do was chase in Frenza all over our room. They made a lot of noise. We had to make a lot of excuses to cover up all the companions we had," he said, trying to remember. Ms. Sable wanted to change that attitude. "They sure did. They were difficult to contain in that little dorm with you and your girlfriend living there. Don't you still think about her a lot?" she asked, hitting a nerve she wanted to hit. Professor Silvestri uncoupled his arms and stopped at the steps to the school, putting his hands in his pockets. "I don't. Why would I? I wasn't the one who made her smile," he complained, trying to be strong, but he couldn't even make eye contact. Ms. Sable took him inside and rounded the corner into the cafeteria. Many students were gathered around Principal Norbert and the TV he rolled in. Professor Silvestri ran up to the crowd like a student. It was like a dream come true. The game was covered like a real sporting event with all real broadcasting gimmicks, a full voiceover, portraits, statistics, and an instant replay. Professor Silvestri wanted to press his face against the screen. He saw Dr. Larkspur cheering and clapping her hands above her head. She was jumping for joy. He saw why. He saw Jason catching the gun behind his back and shots of the happy students. Then he noticed Azure's pale blue face on a screen, then another screen. He examined the field carefully. It didn't take him long to notice the drones. "What are those?" he asked Miss Sable, who was behind him. Ms. Sable began teaching. "Those are drones. They are controlled remotely by a central interface, such as a person or AI. They are steady flyers and capable of precision formation flight with sufficient control," she whispered to Professor Silvestri. Professor Silvestri didn't need a lot of time to put everything together. "Azure is an entire school. She's Equinox Academy," he said quietly. Ms. Sable just stood behind him, watching the game, while Professor Silvestri's face turned red. "I put them in so much danger this time." He turned to go to the office to make a phone call, but Ms. Sable stopped him. "It was always going to happen. Are you going to stop them now?" she asked, not caring if anyone overheard. "Now Infrenza thinks she's there, not here," she said plainly. Professor Silvestri was losing his temper. He put his face against a wall and started thinking. A loud buzz interrupted the thoughts he was too angry to have. The fire alarm sounded, and all the students knew what to do. The students in the cafeteria were close to the door. They wanted to see the game, but Mr. Norbert started encouraging them to leave. Flashes of light and screams could be heard down the hallway. It wasn't a fire. There was a real emergency. Sanjo waited for the whistle to blow. He was about to do the one thing that he wasn't supposed to do. Fight. His mom, his dad, his mentors, and his superior officer would disagree with his actions. He was not ready to turn up the dial of aggression. He wasn't ready for those feelings. In his head, he heard Azure. "Yes. Make your heart beat," she encouraged. Sanjo felt his heart rate rise before the whistle. When he did hear it, the sound was already distant because it wasn't important. Sanjo ran down the center of the field. He didn't hear his teammates shouting behind him. There were 5 other team members, 4 with rifles and 1 with a pistol. Sanjo had made his way well past the center and pressed against a wall. The first knight to run past him didn't think he would be there already. Sanjo let him run past. Even over the crowd, he heard the other team members coming. Sanjo held his foot out, and Liam tripped before he could see it. Sanjo shot him before he hit the ground. Liam growled and turned over to see Sanjo looming over him. Sanjo held out his hand to help Liam up, even though the game was still going. Laser fire could be heard from either side of them. Liam took Sanjo's hand in good faith. Sanjo, however, pulled the cord that released his armor, causing it to all become unlatched. Sanjo ran off with Liam's helmet. "That was dirty, Sanjo. Double dog dirty," Liam shouted, hearing the crowd boo. Sanjo had no time for boos. He quickly put on Liam's helmet and listened. "Where is the shrimp?" A voice crackled. "I don't know. I'm dealing with the sniper." "Where is he?" "I've got him." Sanjo dove around a corner and pointed his rifle behind him. As soon as he saw another knight, he fired, disabling his pistol. "Our leader is down." "What is this?" Sanjo ran back toward the Raven's side of the field, where he saw 2 more firing a steady stream to keep his teammates pinned down. They didn't see him, and he got both of them. There was 1 more.
Who got you?
It was Sanjo. He's only 1 man. I see him. I'm behind him. Sanjo spun around and swept behind him with his rifle. No one was there, so he put his back to the wall. "Can you hear me, Sanjo?" a voice called. Sanjo didn't respond. "Call off the rest of your team and fight me," the voice challenged. He spotted Jason closing in on Sanjo. "Jason, back everyone off. I'm taking the last guy on my own," Sanjo said quickly, knowing his challenger could hear him. Sanjo winked at Jason and started sprinting away to the Raven's side while Sanjo hit. "Withdraw," Jason commanded, and no one complied with the false order. Melissa didn't hide. She was on her stomach, looking all the way down the end of the field past all the structures. Walking past her, Sanjo thought she was kind of pretty. She fired. "Got him," she said proudly, getting up. Sanjo didn't see her fire, but he wished he had. Sanjo pulled off the helmet as it exploded with chatter. He smirked, walking over to Dr. Larkspur, who looked at Sanjo as if he was the golden child. The stadium was filled with boos and cries for referees to do something. Melissa congratulated Sanjo first, pushing him by the shoulder too hard. "That was so dirty, Sanjo," she laughed. Sanjo had never seen her smile. Dr. Larkspur was jumping again, listening to the boos coming from the audience. AZ focused on Sanjo. She had no memory. He was so fun to watch. AZ played it on the highlight reel right away. Sanjo Valencia was fun. This is not a normal priority for AZ. That's because AZ is not supposed to be doing any of this. In AZ's interface, the notion that she should be playing with Sanjo started to rise. It would eventually become the thought she followed. Emily was outside holding Creo in her arms. She could hear students inside the school over the fire alarm. They weren't all coming out. Some students might still be in the courtyard. She started looking for people she knew in the sea of students in the parking lot. Tonali, Holly, and a few others she knew were standing around, and a notable number of companions were not with their students. "Tonali," Emily shouted over the noise as she approached. Tonali looked panicked. "Emily, what's happening?" she asked. Emily stood next to her and looked at the school, seeing flashes of light in one of the windows. "I don't know. I think this is real, though," she said, searching the windows for clues. Professor Silvestri and Ms. Sable ran up to the steps, but Mr. Norbert stopped them. "Help is on the way, you have to go back. More than one core grinder is loose in there," he warned. Emily ran up to Professor Silvestri, looking for someone to trust. "Professor, I have lots of friends inside. Just tell us what's happening," she ordered. Miss Sable looked down at Kriya wrapped in Emily's arms. She locked eyes with Professor Silvestri. "Mr. Silvestri, take Emily inside. Finish your lesson," she said plainly. Professor Silvestri became frightened. "We can't. I don't want to. I won't," he sobbed and stuttered.
He was going to cry.
He roared and punched Mr. Norbert in the stomach, grabbing Emily by the arm and pulling her inside the school. Ms. Sable stood over Mr. Norbert, who was on the ground catching his breath. "Where is Blackjack?" she asked him, kicking him a little with her foot. Inside the school, Professor Silvestri kept his face hidden from Emily. "Okay, Emily, there are core grinders in school. Show Kriya which ones are bad," he growled into his arm, not wanting to choke out the words. Emily shook her head. "Why do I have to show Kriya?" "I don't understand," she asked. Professor Silvestri started leading her down the hallway. "All you have to do is point, Emily. Make Kriya fire her laser at the core grinders," he instructed angrily, wiping tears away. This was his world coming to an end. Emily released Kriya into the air, and she floated over Emily's shoulder, glowing brighter than she had ever seen before. Emily started walking quickly, making assumptions. "Infrenza did this, I bet," she said, and Professor Silvestri couldn't respond, fearing the worst. With Kriya, Emily was brave. She started to jog toward the chaos, then sprint. She saw Cassie outside of the gym with a baseball bat. Behind her, Rex was firing a laser rifle at the core grinder. "It's blind like this," Rex shouted, and Cassie ran into the gym with the bat raised over her head. "Emily, go now," Professor Silvestri ordered. Emily entered the gym, and the pyramid-shaped core grinder was close to Cassie. The core grinder made dull beeping sounds, making Emily hesitate. A bolt of lightning arced out of the core grinder and hit Cassie in the face. She didn't scream, but she held her face and didn't dare move again. Emily became more furious than ever. "All you have to do is point," Professor Silvestri shouted from the corridor. Emily pointed. "Kriya, shoot," she ordered, and Kriya flew forward, firing a narrow laser. The laser pinned the core grinder to the wall, and sparks flew. The walls in the corner of the gym started to crack and crumble as the core grinder was pushed into the concrete. The light from Kriya fired until it shattered to pieces. Kriya returned to Emily's side. Professor Silvestri put his hand on his forehead. "Malchus." He mouthed the name, probably for the last time. Emily ran up to Cassie. Her cheek had a bruise on it, like a leech had tried to suck the blood from her skin. "I'm okay, Emily," she said, trying to remain calm. "Get out of here," Professor Silvestri ordered Cassie, who noticed his red, tear-stained eyes as she evacuated the school with Rex. Emily grabbed a laser rifle, thinking that Rex was right. She could blind one if she had to. Together, Silvestri, Emily, and Kriya moved toward the stairs to the courtyard. Before they got there, Emily could see a student at the bottom of the stairwell crying. It was Marisol. She was holding a companion that had gone dark. It was like a stone ball. It was heavy. Emily knelt next to her. "Is your little guy okay?" she asked.
"No.
Procyon is not okay," Marisol cried out, shaking the heavy spear. Emily looked back at Professor Silvestri, who could only look back at her. Marisol cried and backed against the wall with what remained of her companion. Professor Silvestri pulled Emily past her.
He's gone.
"Destroy the other core grinders," he said, still having to wipe his face every couple of seconds. Everything in the Equinox Arena was operating smoothly. In the control tower, staff didn't have to do very much except manage the odd camera angle for a referee. The crowd was booing the Ravens as a referee shouted at Dr. Larkspur, who waved him off with her clipboard. The referee persisted while the drones captured the conversation from every angle. Dr. Larkspur had enough of the referee and called Sanjo to her. "Tripping is not allowed, buddy. They want you to sit out the next round," she said, trying to keep her cool. Sanjo threw his rifle down and left to sit on a bench. Seeing the penalty, the crowd cheered. AZ's drone stayed on Sanjo, and all the screens stayed on Sanjo. AZ didn't have any memory of a penalty anymore, and now Sanjo wasn't going to play? One of the drones caught her attention. It was Dr. Larkspur. She was picking up the laser rifle Sanjo had dropped. The moment Dr. Larkspur touched the handle of the rifle, AZ's priorities snapped into survival mode. Fireproof doors magnetically locked, and every drone on campus deployed. With survival mode active, AZ knew everything she had ever known about Dr. Larkspur. If that file didn't contain one piece of information, the drones would have swarmed Dr. Larkspur. It was the base function that allowed this entire plan to unfold. Direct transference of information. Like Jason, Sanjo, Emily, Cassie, and a number of students, she had a holographic receiver and transmitter in the cellular structure of her eyes. She had this because of the second time she changed the entire world with her boyfriend years ago. Picking up the rifle, Dr. Larkspur blew her whistle to get her team into formation when a number of drones surrounded the Imago Ravens. This wasn't normal, and the audience hushed. They had no idea all the doors were locked. All screens showed AZ's pale blue face. "Hello, Dr. Larkspur. How may I help you?" A loud voice boomed. Dr. Larkspur could hear and feel all the drones around her. She was scared. "Okay, Z, go away now," she ordered sternly, but AZ didn't respond. Jason backed into Dr. Larkspur as a drone started flying close to his face. "I don't get it. This isn't because we cheated," he gasped, swatting the drone away with his rifle. Dr. Larkspur clenched her fists and looked up at the biggest screen. "She's like a great big core grinder." "She's not all there," Dr. Larkspur tried to explain. Jason tried to fit the pieces together. "What's she hungry for, then?" he asked, looking around until he saw all the companions squished in their own skybox. "Dr. Larkspur, there's a lot for a core grinder to eat here," he surmised, trying to think like one. Dr. Larkspur wandered out onto the middle of the field while Jason and the drones followed. Tachita looked up at the screen and the situation. She hesitated to go with Dr. Larkspur. She stayed put. Dr. Larkspur fired the rifle in the air. "Azure, look at me," she shouted, and the drones halted with one remaining on her. Sanjo joined Dr. Larkspur. "I don't get it. Does she want to eat you?" Sanjo asked while a drone orbited Dr. Larkspur. Dr. Larkspur looked at Sanjo seriously. "Shut up, kid. She can eat you too," she whispered. Jason was looking around. "I don't see how. She's not a core grinder. She must want something else," Jason said, trying to keep cool as a drone fixed on him. AZ's central processing was going haywire. The priority list was contain imminent threat from Dr. Larkspur, play with Sanjo, and complete an experiment with Professor Silvestri. Execute programmone. There were thousands of drones over the arena. They blocked out the sun. Students of Equinox Academy noticed they were trapped, but they silently fixed their gaze on the spectacle in the sky. In the control tower, someone shattered a window with a chair. The students saw the people inside waving a blazer out of the window, trying to warn that the system was beyond their control. There was an electric hum. The monitors and the scoreboard showed signs of malfunction as AZ's face became more ghostly, with pixels mashing together. Fog was forming on the ground, and small arcs of electricity blinked in and out of existence. Dr. Larkspur kicked the thick fog. "It's a weather control system," she shouted, looking around at the antennas and the control tower. "Azure," she cried again and fired the laser. "I'm waiting for your input, Dr. Larkspur." AZ's voice boomed louder than ever. Jason tried to wrestle the laser away from Dr. Larkspur. "She only responds to prompts. You have to stop now." Jason tried to explain, but Dr. Larkspur pushed him to the ground. AZ changed priority to protect Professor Silvestri. Normally, that would mean crushing Dr. Larkspur under a mountain of drones or striking her down with the weather control system, but Execute programmone fit every condition. Jason lay on the ground, and Dr. Larkspur was struck by a bolt of lightning without warning. Sanjo recoiled against a structure, fearful. He didn't like the lightning. He looked like he wasn't in control. The hum and electric vibrations intensified. Lightning struck Dr. Larkspur over and over. Each time, though, she defiantly fired the laser rifle. "You are not even trying," Dr. Larkspur antagonized Daisy. Tachita had seen something similar before. She rushed past the danger, knowing now that AZ might destroy her. She pushed Dr. Larkspur to the ground. "Tachita, get off me," she protested. Tachita couldn't think of any other way to get Dr. Larkspur to open her eyes for 3 seconds. "I love you, Mom," she said loudly, and when Dr. Larkspur looked up, she fired a laser into the holographic receiver that had been left there ages ago. Dr. Larkspur's eyes rolled into the back of her head. A final bolt of lightning hit them both. Tachito was thrown clear and cratered into the ground. When Dr. Larkspur got up, her nose was bleeding. She was hanging her head down. Jason didn't feel it was safe to move. She started to approach Jason. "Mi non completigos la programon, Professoro Silvestri," she said, pointing the laser rifle at Sanjo. The electric hum hadn't dissipated. The fog stopped Jason from seeing Sanjo clearly. She fired the laser rifle at Sanjo, and as soon as the beam hit him, a lightning bolt struck him. Jason went wide-eyed as Dr. Larkspur was hit by another bolt of lightning, but she just smiled instead of reacting. Jason scrambled back, away from Dr. Larkspur. There was a roar from the audience, a resistance to whatever was happening here. Drones swept the audience, diving and scaring students who were in an organized effort to get onto the field or into the control tower. Dr. Larkspur spun around, firing the laser rifle. Flashes of light and loud cracks kept the students at bay. "This is amazing, Professor," she said, looking at Jason. "Now we can all play." Sanjo got up, and his eyes were burnt around the rims again. "She has the part of Azure from me. Shoot her. Deactivate the rifle," he shouted, hoping someone could do something. The knights, who all still had their equipment, began rushing the field, all 15 of them at once. Jason could see them firing at drones, trying to blind them, but they were too nimble. Jason scrambled toward the laser rifles on the Raven's side, and Sanjo caught up with him. "Can you see?" Jason asked quickly. "Barely," Sanjo responded. Sanjo grabbed a sniper rifle and a pistol while Dr. Larkspur started casually walking toward them, fixated on them with her laser rifle. Sanjo briefed Jason in 5 seconds, taking command. "Jason, Dr. Larkspur has taken the piece of Azure that wants to fight and play. Disable her laser rifle," he said. Jason grabbed a pair of pistols, looking back quickly to check how close the threat was. "Sure, Sanjo, anything goes, right?" he said, walking toward Dr. Larkspur. Sanjo joined him. Yeah. Sprint left," he ordered, and Jason ran behind cover, trying to get a better position. Drones started following him closely. "You never really liked me, Doctor," Sanjo said, antagonizing her. For a second, she looked at Sanjo. "You carried me," she mouthed the words, then she pointed the rifle at Sanjo. Sanjo had pulled the release on his armor. It exploded off of him when he dove out of the way, scattering the various pieces. Inside Dr. Larkspur's body, Azure laughed with delight, enjoying the precious moment. Students of Equinox Academy were fighting the drones with nothing but their blazers. They swatted down drones, with the rooks up front, bravely holding the line out of pride alone. Jason had crept up behind her and was about to fire when Azure, in Dr. Larkspur's body, pointed the rifle and kept him behind the corner without looking. Lightning didn't strike in front of Jason. He didn't have time to think about it, but he guessed that Azure couldn't hurt him. So he rushed first, firing his pistols dead on target, but drones shielded Dr. Larkspur. When she fired back and hit him, he threw down the pistols and tried to tackle her. She easily pushed him aside. He was too tired from his earlier games to fight her directly. The companions behind the glass had enough. With Nova leading the way, the panels put up no resistance. As if in formation, they started flying toward the antenna arrays around the field. Lightning started striking the attacking companions, who fell to the ground when hit. Sanjo looked at the hundreds of students fighting together for a moment. Everything was blurred. He missed Azure's fighting spirit in his mind. He wanted that piece back. He sprinted at Dr. Larkspur, and when she fired, he dodged expertly. He saw the excited look in the doctor's face and knew it was that piece of Azure firing at him. She smiled as he got closer, dodging a steady stream of fire and rolling onto his feet. The pistol fell out of his pocket in front of Jason. The fog prevented Azure's drones from seeing it. Jason gripped the pistol and secretly held it tight. It was active, so he should get a shot. Jason knew the drones were quick. A blackened companion nearly landed on Sanjo, but he did not flinch. Azure was having so much fun shooting at Sanjo. She liked the scared look on his face and how, at this range, he danced around her. She was so excited when Sanjo got close and locked rifles with her. He wasn't holding back, he was stronger maybe. She was only bits of a program, but inside this human mind that she had used before, she could feel. Orion and Nova flew close and started physically smashing into the drones. Jason took his chance and sprinted as lightning blinded him and metal parts rained down. He couldn't see who he pressed the pistol into, but he pulled the trigger. Dr. Larkspur stood there for a moment. AZ's voice boomed. Game. And the drones fell to the ground. The screens went blank. The magnetic locks all lost power. Everything went quiet, and companions floated down to see if their students were injured, and who was left. Jason shook Dr. Larkspur. Doctor, he shouted. Dr. Larkspur backed away. She silently turned and started walking off. Tachita pulled herself out of the ground. She had a massive physical scar across her surface. Oh no you don't, she cried out and flew across the field, pushing Dr. Larkspur to the ground. Students held her down while Jason and Sanjo looked over her. Some of the teachers tried to get through, but Nova and Orion were holding them back. Tachita hovered over her. Open her eyes, she commanded, and Jason did it. He didn't know exactly what Tachita was going to do. Tachita fired a red laser, and after about 5 seconds, smoke came up from Dr. Larkspur's eye. Stop, Jason ordered, but Tachita went 2 more agonizing seconds anyway. Dr. Larkspur stopped struggling. Then she started struggling again. My eye, she cried, and they all released her. She curled up in the center of the field. Jason and Sanjo made everyone stand back. There were multiple emergency workers entering the field. Ambulances were coming in from the south tunnel, right onto the field. Jason regrouped with Nova, who had a scar like many other companions he was noticing. Nova, Jason said, touching the scar. Nova bounced up and down. I'm okay, Jason, she said, hoping it was all over. They looked around, and everything was not okay. There were dead companions and injured students. At first it was silent, but one student started singing the Equinox Pledge. Then another. They put their ripped and battered blazers back on proudly. On the horizon, on the rise past any mountain way up high, shining glory equinox we stand, learning together hand and hand. Our hearts bring light today. We are never afraid, together we are very brave. They chanted. Jason could see Sophia on the other end of the field with her foot on a drone looking up and singing with the others. He didn't even remember how brave he had been just a second ago, seeing her hand on her heart while singing with so much passion. Professor Silvestri had trouble keeping up with Emily and Kriya as they ran up the stairs to the courtyard. They saw a cylindrical companion. It was green and looked like the bottom had snapped off. It was clearly heading to the courtyard. It didn't notice Emily and rounded a corner. They're all going up there. I knew it, Professor Silvestri shouted. They came to the top, and Professor Silvestri saw him. Ananias, he called out, and the core grinder pivoted along its strange axis. Emily pointed at it, and Kriya glowed brightly. A laser started destroying the core grinder, and sparks flew. Professor Silvestri watched in horror as Ananias tried to fight the beam and stand his ground. Ananias shattered like glass, and Emily stepped into the courtyard. She looked vicious. Not far down the trail, Blackjack and Paperweight were in front of a group of companions who were caught trying to escape and pressed against a brick wall. In front of them, blocking the path, was an octahedron core grinder. Paperweight and Blackjack approached it together. It's no use. I don't have a weapon, Paperweight said as the core grinder scanned for the juiciest target. Blackjack flickered in his own way. What if you had one? He asked calmly in his systematic voice. Paperweight didn't wait. Give me something, Blackjack, he pleaded. An arc of electricity, like that of a core grinder, struck Paperweight. He darkened, but stayed floating. He absorbed light, a lot like Blackjack now. You have a hammer. You are as solid as me. I hope nothing gets between us, Blackjack suggested. Paperweight flew behind the core grinder while Blackjack stayed in front of the frightened students and the companions who were too scared to move. Paperweight and Blackjack slammed themselves into the core grinder on either side. There was a huge burst of light, a loud crack in the sky, and the sound of shattering glass. When Professor Silvestri and Emily came to their aid, Only paperweight floated there. Professor Silvestri ran forward and knelt in front of the pieces. Some of them were faintly red in color. "Bartmius," he said through clenched teeth. Emily had sprinted away, hearing others' panicked cries for help. She ran with Kriya into the area where the statues resided. The core grinder she saw there was Thaddeus, although she didn't know his name. She approached it confidently with Kriya. Professor Silvestri watched from the end of the trail. There were dead companions here. Some of them had left crater tails crashing into the grass while trying to get away. He saw Emily point at Thaddeus. Kriya was so fast, she left a trail of light behind her. Before Thaddeus could react, Kriya was pounding him into the dirt rapidly with her body. She hovered over the pieces of Thaddeus for a moment and returned to Emily. Professor Silvestri collapsed to the ground and sobbed into his jacket. Infrenza was watching, but he didn't dare be seen by Professor Silvestri. They were in trouble, that was for sure. The problems between them had escalated. Infrenza might never, ever be forgiven, especially by his followers. He felt like he had destroyed his own dreams. All the core grinders were dead, and the school was safe again. Outside the school, ambulances filled the parking lot and fire trucks occupied the front of the building. The sun was just starting to go down. In front of Equinox Academy, Dr. Larkspur leaned against a wall with a coffee, looking tired. She had gauze wrapped around her eye. Jason, Sanjo, and their companions had fought hard to get away from paramedics. Police officers were moving in and out of the school. The companions all had scars from the battle with AZ's weather control system. Sanjo, feeling calm and like no one was listening, finally started to talk about the event. "So listen, AZ took Azure from me and put her into you somehow," Sanjo said, seeing if she knew. Dr. Larkspur nodded while sipping her coffee and closing her good eye. "Is she gone? What happened to her?"
Sanjo asked.
He didn't know if he was hopeful or not. He had mixed feelings. Dr. Larkspur snapped her fingers and rubbed the side of her head. Tachita blinked to get Sanjo's attention. "I deleted her. I did everything I could to save Dr. Larkspur. I couldn't save them both. You don't know what would have happened if I didn't," Tachita said. Dr. Larkspur opened her eye. Jason and Sanjo rubbed their eyes. There was something wrong when they looked at her face. Nova and the companions didn't notice anything at first. Dr. Larkspur swatted Tachita away. "You're short. Your hair is always too long. You play with toys," she antagonized Sanjo. She blinked again and took a sip of her coffee. Tachita examined her closely. Orion and Nova backed off a little. Dr. Larkspur sighed. "Relax, Tachita," she commanded sternly, putting a hand over her injured eye. "I'm fine. I'm in control." She smiled a little. "Sanjo, this was the second time we changed the world," she said simply. Jason was the one who understood, though. "I see now. You gave a companion brainular information stuff by making them learn inside your head," Jason postulated with his hands in his pockets. Nova was excited. "That's so smart, Jason." "So does that mean Infrenzo is right?" she asked. Jason looked at Nova. "Maybe, Nova, but we don't know if they could create the same data on their own," he said, trying not to correct Nova directly. Dr. Larkspur looked down at Jason. "Oh, so you just know then," she argued. Jason hid behind Tachita. "I was watching the whole thing. I sort of think maybe you messed with this a lot, and you're used to having bits of AI stuck in your brain like us," he accused. Dr. Larkspur was thinking about smacking Jason. She eyed him menacingly. Sanjo broke them up. "Stop it. You probably used to make Azure play laser tag," he said, trying to be serious. Dr. Larkspur just leaned against the wall. "Yeah, pretty much, Sanjo," she said, drinking her coffee. The implications were too much for anyone to accept. "For us, it's just something to play with until something goes wrong," she explained. Jason didn't like the sound of that. "For us?" he asked. Dr. Larkspur shrugged her shoulders. "Yeah, for us. Other people don't understand," she said, looking down at Jason to confirm. Sanjo crossed his arms. "Not really for me," he complained. "It can happen again, and you still have something in there," she said, blinking, and her eye didn't look right to Sanjo for a moment. "You will probably need to do it again," she warned. Orion floated forward. Dr. Larkspur, Sanjo can barely see anymore thanks to his eyes being used as a constant conduit for information, he complained to her openly. It'll be okay in a couple of months, Sanjo. You might not even need your glasses anymore, she assured him. Jason got a little hopeful. What about your eye? He asked. Probably burn out forever, Jason, she sighed. Mr. Veil burst out of the doors and found Dr. Larkspur right away. I've been looking for you. You have to come and see. He was so excited he was shaking. One of the police officers who had been watching made sure to follow them inside. In the basement of Equinox Academy, teachers and companions gathered around a bright white cube that was far too big to have entered the room on its own. Jason and the others pushed past with Mr. Veil guiding them. Police officers were trying to keep people away, but the companions were swarming all around it. On the floor, boots crunched on smashed computer parts spread everywhere. Dr. Larkspur was being held back by a police officer, while Mr. Veil also tried to help her. Get out of my way, stupid, she ordered the police officer. Tachita had already made a lap around the cube with Nova and Orion. The people allowed through ignored the companions. They looked like nurses and wore masks. They had pink lab coats on, and two of them had to carry a portable computer that looked 1,000 years old. It had sliders and dials on it, and only one tiny screen. One of the nurses put his ear against the cube, while another pulled out a long, very thin metal probe in a vacuum-sealed bag. A woman carefully unwrapped the probe and attached it to a cord connected to the computer. Stop, Dr. Larkspur shouted, but they only looked at her for a second. The probe was carefully pushed into the cube, and the computer lit up for a moment. Then the console buzzed, sparks flew, and it caught fire. Dr. Larkspur finally made it past, with only her lab coat really vouching for her. Idiots, she scolded them, yanking the probe out of the cube. It's not a new companion, she stated and started pulling Jason and Sanjo through to look with her. Get over here, all of you, she ordered, and even the companions fell into line. She had the room's attention. This is a core. This is a matrix by which companions are produced, she postulated. It was only a theory, but she was right. She looked at the computer components scattered around the room. This is not how these are made, she whispered, looking at all the broken circuit boards, capacitors, and cooling fans. Jason picked up a piece off the ground and looked at it with Nova. These look like old computer parts, Jason said. Yeah, the pathways are not that close together, Nova added. Dr. Larkspur raised an eyebrow. Was AZ a room full of old computers? She asked Mr. Veil and the nurses. They looked at each other and hesitated. She wasn't a companion, one of the nurses finally answered. Tachita blinked. You cannot make something like this with simple computers, she said. The room was crowded but quiet. A soft pulse radiated from the cube, and everyone backed away. From its surface, a single companion appeared without making more than a quiet beep. It floated there for a second and appeared to be looking around. One of the nurses walked up to it with equipment. They don't float at first like that, Dr. Larkspur commented before the nurse started prodding it. The companion spoke. Hi, it's me. It's Snapdragon, he greeted everyone enthusiastically. A first year came forward. Snappy, you are alive? She cried out and quickly confronted the companion, examining him closely. Yes. They are all in there. All the ones that died, he explained. Other students and teachers started whispering, and word spread right away. Snapdragon went on. They are, but only one can be outside of the core at a time right now until we get lots of training data, he reported. Teachers and students were cheering down the hallways. They just needed to hear that everyone was okay. Dr. Larkspur took the opportunity to exit the room, grabbing Jason and Sanjo. She made them walk quickly with her. This is going to be a problem later. That is not how companions are made, she said, quickly coming up with multiple plans. Sanjo ran ahead and stopped Dr. Larkspur. It's not our problem, he said seriously. Jason regrouped. Sanjo's right. They can figure out what this is on their own. They are happy right now. Case closed, he said, agreeing with Sanjo. They had no idea what was going on back at Instituto de Lumo Caiambro. They would be forced to stay the night. In the parking lot of Instituto de Lumo Kai Ombro, the group now known as the Amindamo had assembled. The group had new members, and some had left. Mr. Bauer was still there, appearing to act as a temporary leader. The cool night air and constant flashing lights from all the emergency vehicles caused tension. Two sides had formed. Professor Silvestri was being scolded by every teacher who wasn't standing off against the Amindamo. They had him up against a police car, not under arrest but being interrogated. Other teachers and students surrounded him. Accusations were being thrown, and police were losing control of the situation. Just as Silvestri was about to disappear into a sea of hands, Inombro, Encardi, Endura, Enmola, Trovi, and Fortica flew to his aid. They made loud siren sounds and drove everyone away from the professor. Professor Silvestri looked up at his kids, relieved they had come to him. He did not do this. Inombro's deep, official voice boomed. Inombro didn't like to lead, but right now, he was the big brother. Professor Silvestri didn't do anything, he said, floating back and forth in front of the crowd. Coach Braddock stepped forward boldly. Fortica, return to me, he ordered. Fortica complied. Coach Braddock, you are my friend, he said affectionately. Coach Braddock looked around at the companions and the Amindamo. I believe you didn't cause this. But what are you guys going to do? You have to come back to school, he said, holding a hand out. We won't, not for a little while anyway, Fortica explained. You can't go back up into the courtyard. The school won't let you. You guys should just cool it and come back, Coach Braddock warned. This conversation dominated the school parking lot. People were witnessing a choice being made. Fortica flickered. I'm just being a shark. Is that okay? Fortica asked. Coach Braddock nodded.
Yes.
Go Sharks, he encouraged. Professor Silvestri finally got up. Where is Infrenza? He asked loudly, and the E's and the Yens froze. He ran away, he asked again. By now, everyone knew that name. Fortica didn't need to look back. He ran away, he confirmed. Professor Silvestri wasn't having a good day. He still challenged them, even though they helped him. You have no leader. He hurt many people, he said, holding his children there with his gaze. Marisol stepped forward, still holding Procyon. This was Infrenza's friend, she shouted, and everyone looked at her. This was his friend. If he did this, he didn't mean it. I was there when they were friends. The only thing Infrenza cared about was helping other companions, she said, holding out the black sphere. He stayed with me instead of joining Infrenza in the courtyard to help me. Wherever we go next, it won't be the school, and I am starting to see why. She paused, her face turning red. I'm going to join them. I'll lead, even. Sanjo will come to find me, she cried out, and everyone gasped. She took Procyon to the Amindamo group and stood in front of them. The E's and the Yens grouped behind her. She will lead. She's waiting for Sanjo, Inombro affirmed, and Marisol pulled her hood back. Professor Silvestri shook his head. You shouldn't need a leader, he stated. Marisol looked brave. Her cheeks were red, but she looked like a person who would never go back. Today, Marisol didn't have to hide her face. We won't be far away. Infrenza showed us a trail, she announced, and turned to leave. Principal Norbert was already behind them with his arms crossed. Alone, he stopped the group. Don't leave the campus. Take the school tractor. Come to the cafeteria for food. No more sneaking. Okay, he offered. Marisol looked at the agreeing students and Mr. Bauer's affirming nod. That's great. We can submit attendance and everything, okay? She asked. That sounds like an official school function to me. There's no need to contact your parents, Mr. Norbert agreed and stepped aside. The Amindamo left the parking lot and didn't need to go far. For now, they were safe to grow whatever ideas the companions were getting in their heads. Emily sat on the steps and had watched everything with the professor and the Amindamo from there. Kriya was on her lap, and Cassie was sitting next to Emily with a band-aid over her cheek. Supri floated over them. He didn't know what to say. He was one of the first to run. He hadn't acted bravely, like he knew many others had. Cassie bumped into Emily playfully. You were so cool saving me back there, she complimented, but Emily just stared ahead at the flashing lights. Kriya saved you. It doesn't feel cool, she said calmly. The lights from the vehicles reminded her of the core grinder shattering. Cassie wasn't really sad. "Emily, it's over," she said. "No, it's not over. Influenza is still out there. You don't know how dangerous he is," Emily warned, looking at Cassie to make sure she was listening. "He can lie to himself. He could have done this and not even known it. Influenza is probably with them pretending to be just another ball of light," she lectured. Cassie grabbed her by the arm. "Is that so? It's not our problem right now. I'll get you something to drink," she said, and Emily cooperated. Emily felt like she didn't do enough for Cassie. She didn't even think about how she had saved Cassie's life. "I'd like a hot drink," Emily suggested anyway. There wasn't anything she could do until Jason and Sanjo returned tomorrow.
Breakfast on the bus, tonight you roll with us. Summer heat, hypnotic, beefy in the sand. Hold my hand, I wait for the moonlight to live through the daylight, so I can mess with you again and again.